Okay, we should be good there. And Mr. Aruda, let me just, I have the slideshow up. Okay, we're ready to go.
Alrighty, good evening, everyone. And thank you for being here tonight with us as our school community will share with you their course and classroom expectations for this school year of 2021. Before we start, I would like to inform you that this session is being video streamed and it will be submitted to your homes. Or you can also obtain it at youtube.com by going with / Portsmouth RI live stream. Again, Portsmouth RI live stream, all one word. I am João Aruda, the principal of the school, and I would like to welcome you all to our grade 8 open house. The school home connection is extremely important in a child's education, especially now that we have some students that are not present in front of us daily and some students that attend the hybrid model. So communication is key. Our faculty and staff is always willing and open to communicating with you about your child's progress or challenges. Teaching and learning is different these days, and we have to make adjustments to better serve our children and bring them a brighter future. This faculty and staff in front of you tonight have worked tirelessly to make that happen. I would like to publicly thank them for their efforts and a job well done. As you probably have heard or read, it takes a village to educate a child. So please allow me to introduce some of the village members that have a daily impact in your child's daily life. So please let me start with my assistant principal of teaching and learning, Mrs. Lisa Goodwin.
Good evening, everyone. I manage all matters pertaining to curriculum and instruction at Portsmouth Middle School. Some of these duties include professional development, planning, and coordinating, as well as the instructional coaching from our tech coaches, our science coach, our ELA coach, and our math coach. And I oversee the professional learning communities that happen twice per month. I also coordinate the state testing, RICAS and NGSS in the spring, as well as our STAR Universal Screening Assessment, which is done 3 times a year. Using the data collected from these assessments, I organize and manage our data meetings with grade level teams, as well as our academic target teams for both reading and math.
Thank you, Mrs. Goodwin. Mrs. Storm, the Director of Student Services.
Good evening, everyone. I'm the Director of Student Services. Within my capacity, I oversee bus transportation, student expectations and discipline, as well as attendance. Working very closely with our support staff, I also oversee the behavior target team, which is part of our multi-tiered systems of support at the middle school.
Thank you, Mrs. Storm. Mrs. Mishno, Student Support Specialist.
Hello, I'm Michelle Mishno, the Student Support Specialist. I'm a part-time administrator and work closely with our building principals. I'm also a part-time member of our guidance department and work closely with the guidance counselors, a school psychologist, a school social worker, our special ed coordinator, and in conjunction, we all coordinate services and supports for students. I also serve as our Building 504 coordinator, and I'm a member of our leadership team, our student support team, data team, guidance, state testing and scheduling team. I'm here to support you and your child with any questions or concerns that you may have and to assist you as we navigate through our last grade 8 middle school year.
Thank you, Mrs. Mishno. We now have Miss Jasmine Clark, our psychologist.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Clark. I'm the school psychologist here at PMS. I work with students in grades 5 through 8. My work involves supporting students' learning and behavioral needs. I focus on social emotional learning within my individual and group counseling sessions. I also work closely with not only the student themselves, but also with their families, with their teachers to help our students be successful, not only in the classroom, but also socially, behaviorally, and emotionally. And I'm also responsible for conducting the cognitive and social emotional evaluations needed to determine special ed eligibility.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. Ms. Faria, our guidance counselor for grade 8.
Hi, everyone. It's nice to be working with you again this year. As you know, I do a lot of work with communicating between students, parents, teachers, and administration, as well as working as a liaison for special ed and 504 meetings. I am also part of the coordinator of the standardized testing that we have, RICAS and NGSS. I work with individual learning plans, which will be able to have students map what they do from this point forward. Especially, it'll be useful when they are in college, when they're going to college to apply. They'll be able to go to one spot to find all of their information, grades, extracurricular activities, awards, etc. It will be very helpful for them. I also orientate and schedule new students to our building, as well as provide individual counseling on a short-term basis. I'm also in charge of writing private school applications. So if you are interested in applying to a private school next year, I highly recommend you try to get that information to us by mid-November, so we're able to do our things on our end and make sure those things are in for you on time.
Thank you, Ms. Faria. Our school social worker, Ms. Sheen.
Hi, everybody. I'm Bailey Sheehan. I'm the school social worker at PMS. I'm a support in the building for students, and I assist with behavioral, emotional, and social needs. I run small groups throughout the school year and meet individually with students either as needed or regularly. And I also work collaboratively with other members of the support team and with classroom teachers.
Thank you, Bailey. Mrs. Perry from the Planning Center.
Hi, everyone. My name is Beth Perry, and I am a special educator in the Planning Center. The Planning Center is for a select group of students at Portsmouth Middle School in grades 5 through 8 with social, emotional, and behavioral goals. I work closely with those students and coordinate with teachers, their families, and service providers in order to help them be as successful as possible. I'm looking forward to making it here. Thank you.
Thank you. Jake, you can go on to the next slide for Mrs. Waugh.
Hi, good evening. My name is Jillian Waugh, and I'm the library media specialist at the middle school. On the slide, I've listed my email and also the direct link to the library page, which has all the library policies and fabulous resources that are there. I also put in the link to the technology assistance page, which was created by the IT department and the tech coaches. And there are videos and tip sheets and the Chromebook troubleshooting and the parent kind of help form that can be filled out if anyone needs assistance with technology. I also teach the library and digital citizenship lessons. This year with grade 8, they'll be taught remotely on distance learning days with either the social studies teacher or the ELA teacher. And book circulation is different this year. So students have been taught how to log into their account and place holds. And books will basically be checked out to them and delivered to the classroom. They will also be returned through the classroom as well. Students aren't able to come to the library this year, unfortunately. Distance learners can also request books. It just requires a parent or guardian coming to the school to pick up and return books. And we've kind of designated Fridays for that day. And that's it. Thanks.
Next, we have a board member from the PTO who have a group that has helped Portsmouth Middle School in many, many ways. And their representative tonight is Mrs. McFadden.
Hi, my name is Iris McFadden, a member of our PTO. And as we navigate ourselves through a school year unlike any before, our goal continues to support our students, teachers, and staff however possible. The support that we can provide this year will be just as important, if not more. Purchasing virtual field trips, celebrating classroom milestones, or teacher grants to help fund items outside of the school budget just a few ways that we hope to support our PMS community this year. Our teachers and staff did an amazing job last year creatively celebrating our 8th graders, and thanks to your support, the PTO was able to contribute to that by purchasing cinch sacks for each of our 8th grade students, purchasing the published books of our 44 young authors, and 2 virtual admissions to our Scholar Leaders Awards. We truly hope we can support as much as possible this year too. We have some cool fundraising opportunities this month, such as our Jack-O-Lantern drive-through coming up on October 29th. But our biggest event of the entire year is the online fundraiser. We're communicating to you every chance we can get. This fundraiser offers an assortment of ways to support, such as orders of Mrs. Field's cookie dough, Spoon Supply home goods, flounce soup donations, or even no hassle contributions, such as cash, check, or Venmo. Many of the school emails you've received these last couple of weeks included the details for this fundraiser, or you can check out our Portsmouth Middle School PTO Facebook page. It's always full of great information. The online fundraising ends tomorrow. We're running a little bit behind last year, but thank you so much for your consideration and your support. We have Zoom meetings every month. Our next one is this Monday, the 19th, and we're always looking for more members and new ideas. So we'd love to see you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mrs. McFadden. Now we have the goals for the 8th grade and the transition year.
So this is a big year for our 8th graders, and I know they've worked very hard to get to this point to be the leaders of our school. This year, it's very important that they work towards higher level of academic achievement. Preparing for high school placement is one of the things we're going to be working on this year. The high school placement will be started in, I believe, January or February, and I'll be going over with students exactly how to create their course selection sheet and place their requests in Aspen. That will also be done with parents and guardians. So anyone who has any questions as we've moved forward to that, please feel free to call me at any time, and I'd be happy to assist with some further directions. We also expect students to be striving for greater academic independence and responsibility. They'll be heading into high school. They will be working towards college applications or working towards work applications, or maybe adding to a military application. So it's very important that they are getting skills and really mastering them in order to be successful in those areas. So in 8th grade, we expect them to complete their work, and we expect them to complete it on time. We expect them to arrange for extra help as needed. So their teachers are more than willing to meet with them at any time that's mutually conducive to both of them, and assist them in questions or concerns that they may have. We do expect children to check Google Classroom daily for assignments and due dates, and also make up all work after an absence. So those are really important things for the 8th grade year, to make sure that they master these skills in order to transition to Portsmouth High School or whatever school they will be going to, in order for them to be more successful through their high school academic career. So 3 of the rules of success in 8th grade are accountability, where we really want students working towards owning all of their choices and decisions. Be accountable for what they choose, and be accountable for the decisions that they make, and also their actions. The next thing is, we really expect them to respect everyone and everything, as that is probably one of the biggest skills that everyone needs, not only in their personal life, but also in their work life. And this is also a time where students really become individuals. They start to make their own choices. They start to become who they want to be, and maybe choose things for them to do that maybe their friends aren't choosing, but they're interested in. So we really strive, and we really encourage them to think about themselves and what they would like. Okay, Mr. Ruda, thank you.
Now it's about the core content areas.
So the core content areas in 8th grade are ELA, social studies, science, modern world language, and math. And the teachers will now be going over their curriculums and giving you more information in each subject area.
We start with ELA.
Perfect. Hi, my name is Heather Baker, and I'll be, honestly, it's hard to believe, but I am the senior member now of the 8th grade team. I've been here now for 31 years, and this is definitely a very different start. But all those people who just spoke to you now and explained what their job is to do for your kids truly have your kids' best interest at heart. They truly do. And I will say this, the people who are going to follow me and just read their slides, that's all they're going to do is just read the slides. We see your kids every day. Like we're them. Like we're the people who see your kids every day. And we're taking good care of them. We really are. But what Miss Faria just said to you guys is very important. We need them to start policing themselves at home. We truly do. Progress reports are coming out. So just be mindful of that. You know, I mean, they're 13, and granted, they should be looking forward, but they're also still little. They're still little. And after 31 years of teaching 8th graders and only myself getting older, and they always stay the same age. Honestly, the older I've gotten, the younger they've seemed to me. So I know how you guys are. And this is crazy. It's a crazy world. But just know that. All right. All right. I'm ready to read my slide.
All right. You want me to read the slide, Heather?
Perfect. Thank you, Jim.
Perfect. My name is Jim Murray. I'm the D2 ELA teacher. And the theme for the ELA this year is tolerance, which obviously is an important part of things that we're dealing with in our world right now. We have 3 core components to the curriculum. The first would be reading, and we're focused right now on a nonfiction unit. Second quarter would be a fiction unit. Third quarter, we read the novel Of Mice and Men, and then fourth quarter, we do a Holocaust unit. We do practice daily grammar and weekly units on the IXL. And we also are focused in on different modes of writing, persuasive, expository, and argument. And we're really trying to help your kids in 8th grade develop critical thinking skills. You know, in the world today, we're starting to see the death of objectivity and nuance, and it's really important to try to train them into thinking responsibly and being able to translate that into their writing. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Mrs. Marcello. I am the D2 Social Studies teacher. I work with Ms. Friccione in D2, and shortly you'll be hearing from Mr. Quirk, who is the D1 Social Studies teacher. This year, we have a new course. It's U.S. History, Beginnings to 1877. In the 8th grade, we will cover this portion of American history, and the students will continue the second part of American history when they get to high school. Next slide, please. So in our year this year in the 8th grade, we're working on reading, writing, and speaking and listening skills. We have a new textbook. It has online resources, which we're excited about. We use a Junior Scholastic magazine for current events, and we integrate primary sources and many different supplementary articles that we have accumulated over the years. We will work on writing, focusing on summary writing and argumentative pieces. And we also in social studies reinforce note-taking skills in many of the items that we read. In the classroom through class discussions and hopefully some student class presentations this year, we work on our speaking and listening skills. And whenever possible, we integrate current events as a medium for us to practice these reading and writing skills. Mr. Quirk is going to explain the other half of that slide.
I'm definitely not going to explain science, that's for sure. All right, so my name is Greg Quirk. I'm the D1 Social Studies teacher. And Mrs. Marcello discussed some of the skills that the kids will be learning in 8th grade social studies this year. I just want to touch on some of the topics that we'll be covering. So if some of your some of these kids, if some of their siblings came through, we used to teach mostly civics. We would start with the Revolution and go into civics. Now we're U.S. History 1. So we kind of flip-flopped with the high school. So we still start off talking about the Revolutionary War. And after the Revolutionary War, once we wrap that up, we're going to talk about the formation of our Constitution, some of the ideas behind what it means to live in a democracy. And then we get into some of the challenges the new country faced. We get into the War of 1812, westward expansion. And at the end of the year, we cover slavery and the Civil War. So the two real bookends to our new curriculum would be the Revolutionary War, and we end up with the Civil War. I just want to say this too. I'm actually sitting on my back deck because, you know, we're usually in the theater. And I have hockey bags being packed for practices tonight and homework being done in the house. I know this is a different world for kids, and I know they have different obstacles this year. I think the kids have done an excellent job starting off. Most kids are doing a really good job with this, even though it's a little bit challenging. And I think the school has done a really nice job keeping the kids safe this year as well. So it's really been a good start so far. Now we can go to the science slides.
Hello, I'm Ms. Sikaranza, the D1 science teacher. And Mrs. Reed, do you want to say hello? Hello? Well, I'm D1 science. And we work with Mr. Naff as well in the science classroom. And I can talk a little bit about the topics we're going to be covering this year on the next slide. So we have 3 units of study in 8th grade science. Our first, which we're off and running with already, is force, motion, and energy. So this is a really important unit of study because next year in the 9th grade, the students will be doing physics. So this is an introduction to the concepts they'll be studying more in depth in 9th grade. After this unit, we move on to genetics and evolution, which is my favorite. And then the last part of the year, we move on to human impact on the environment. And generally, this is when part of this unit is looking at positive impacts that humans can have on the environment to solve some of the negative impacts that we've had on the environment through engineering. We do wind turbines and other types of projects. So we're hoping that by the spring, we're able to do some more hands-on group work because it's usually a really fun time when the kids are building and designing, and it's a little chaotic, but lots of fun. And then we have our big expo at the end of the year. So we're hoping that by spring, things will be a little bit back to normal, and so we can have our expo. Mrs. Reed?
Okay, hello. I didn't realize I was muted before. I thought that would magically go away, but it didn't. So I'm the D2 science teacher. I would like to say that I also agree with everyone else that the students have been doing a really great job. It's getting a little difficult right at this moment because we're all working hard. But we try to have as much fun as we can. And with science, it's a little different because, you know, our lab setups are a lot different. But here's an example of something that we just did. So if you want to go to the next slide, please. So our curriculum is based on the NGSS standards, which is not that exciting to explain to 8th grade. But basically, is there some back feed? Okay. Basically, it's core topics that we have these disciplinary core ideas, which are our topics, main topics. We have these cross-cutting concepts, which link these topics to other practices in science so kids can make connections. And then we have an engineering portion where students sort of try to figure things out through engineering or problem solving. And here's our example. We are starting, basically we're doing distance, time and speed calculations and getting students thinking about speed and acceleration and those topics. And we had who's the fastest 8th grader? So we socially distanced outside and lined up and made the kids walk as fast as possible to calculate their speeds and figure out who was the fastest, and they loved it. It was super fun. So we're trying to make it as fun as possible. because they're going to have a lot of work. So, and that's pretty much it for science.
So modern world language, I'm going to start. I'm Sarah King. I am the D1 Spanish teacher. I'm Maria Alano. I'm D2. You can go to the next slide, please. This is our information we sent at home with the kids. So between D1 and D2, we both have Spanish classes. Senorita Friquion and Senor Naf join us. We do want to have the kids be prepared. The goal is to have them take a level 2 language class at Portsmouth High School. Through this, we try to give them listening activities, speaking activities, reading activities, writing activities in Spanish and in English. We want them to be able to communicate, and right off the bat, we had them speaking. We want them to be comfortable speaking. We want them to be comfortable communicating in a language, that might not be their own. Some kids have had some prior knowledge in this and some kids have not. So everybody's coming together quite nicely. We are currently in the preliminary unit in the Avancemos textbook. We have several units of study, which are listed below. So hola, saying hello, greeting people, un rato con los amigos, because everybody likes to spend time with their friends. Everybody wants to go to school, so vamos a la escuela. Comer en la familia, with eating with family, because who doesn't like to talk about food? En el centro, downtown, and then los deportes for sports, finishing up with that in the spring. And throughout this, with vocabulary, grammar, we add in music, we talk about food, we talk about making as many connections with culture and the outside world, so we can give that to our students. You want to go to the next slide? So this is, I teach Portuguese level 1 with the hope that the students taking level 1 will go right to level 2 at the high school. There are 5 units of study. I'm currently in the preliminary unit, and we have to do the Lusophone world, which is this Portuguese speaking world. And just so everybody knows, Portuguese is spoken in just about every continent in the world. So yay, Portuguese. We do very basic vocabulary and grammar because like I tell my students, you're basically in first grade when it comes to learning Portuguese. You can't possibly speak or write like you do in English. So we start slow, but it is important that they practice, even if it's just with themselves in front of a mirror, it's fine. We do usually have a window to the world project at the end of the year. Last year, of course, there was a kibosh on that because of COVID. I'm not sure what's going to happen this year. We'll prepare the kids as if they were going to have it and hope for the best. And again, just like with everybody else, we do teach listening skills, so listening comprehension, speaking comprehension, reading comprehension, and writing. So it's no different really than everybody else. It's part of learning a language and part of being able to communicate. So we are very thrilled to have them in school. I really love having kids in front of me. It's so much more comfortable. I appreciate my coworkers and the administration team, which have, I think, gone above and beyond this year. So thank you, everyone.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I am Ms. Donna Frio, D1 Math, and Mrs. Fletcher will be introducing herself in a later slide. And we also have Mr. Naff, who works with D1 and D2. So I'll take over for the very next slide. Could I have that, please? Okay, so our topics in math and our basic skills are with the real number system. That's a very big idea, but mostly our focus is on irrational numbers in the real number system. The next big idea is solving equations and systems of equations. This is difficult for the children. It takes us a while to get there because the equations are much more involved than they were in the 7th grade level. Functions and linear equations is a very big topic for us. And again, that takes a little bit of time, but we will get there. Exponents and exponential functions are touched upon, exponents without variables, and then sometimes with variables too. We already completed our Pythagorean theorem unit, but we also have some other geometric topics later, and that will include figure transformations. We, of course, are teaching the Algebra 1 honors students all of those kinds of ideas and topics, excluding the extra geometry topics, but we have a greater focus on the linear functions, exponential functions, quadratic functions, and also polynomials and factoring. Next slide, you'll meet Mrs. Fletcher.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Fletcher, and I am the D2 math teacher. We just wanted to let you know about the math practices and processes that we try to instill throughout all of our problem solving. So we want the kids to make sense of the problems and persevere. In other words, continue, try, work through the problem. They may be difficult, but we still just want them to really try and give their best effort. They also need to be able to reason abstractly and quantitatively. They need to be able to construct viable arguments. In other words, when we ask them how they've come up with something, we want them to be able to defend their answer through their mathematical steps as how they figured them out. They need to be able to create and use math models as a way to help them solve and understand what it is they're learning, and use all of those different types of tools appropriately and different strategies as well. We'd like them to attend to precision. Algebra is a formal language in and of itself. So as you know, when we work with algebra, there is just a certain way that it is always written out. And that's what we're trying to instill on them so that when they move into higher levels of math, it'll be that much easier for them. And we want them to look for and use structure in order to help them in solving word problems. So that's going into the word problem, being able to leave out what's not necessary and find the necessary pieces, the facts, the questions, how to write the equations, and then solve and answer those appropriately. Next slide, please.
Okay, for resources and programs, I think this is probably our most important slide because it really informs you on how we're making this all happen. So I'll talk about a few items here and then Mrs. Fletcher will take over for the remainder. Both Mrs. Fletcher and I use a very similar playlist. When students look at the playlist, it has everything that they need on it. It's not just an assignment list. It has all of the resources that they would need, any videos that they might need, any help pages that they might need. And so anytime a student is absent because they were ill, couldn't come to class, there are so many resources there that they pretty much could solve with just a little bit of reading or listening to the videos, they could take over by themselves. So playlists are number one. The videos that we put up there, some of them are created by us. We use Educreation and Screencastify, but some of them are from sites that you might have heard of or your children might have used in the past, such as Virtual Nerd and Khan Academy. Also, I listed Envisions there because Envisions is our math program that we use for the grade 8. That has so many videos and we'll always be connecting with that. So that takes me to number 3, Envisions 2.0. We have only started using that, but starting next week, we will be using that program extensively through the remainder of the year. Other things as well, but that will be the grade 8 focus. Mrs. Fletcher will explain about the algebra.
Okay, so for the honors students in the algebra program, we're going to be piloting a new program called Savvis Algebra 1. That is in conjunction with the Algebra 1 pilot program that they are also using up at the high school. We have not started into that program as of yet. We have just recently really started to delve into that. And we're hoping to get that up and running soon so that we can introduce all of the students to that program. When they will receive their passwords and everything they need, and we will guide them through that just like we have with the current programs we're working with. We also do a lot of practice in classes you have seen, and we take practice from our Envisions books. We will be taking it from the Savvis Algebra book. We use IXL, and we also use a platform called Quizzes. Quite often, we use that for practice as well as assessments, which is the next bullet. Our assessments also come from Envisions, the Savvis Algebra. and our quizzes. And then we do take and have assessments from other areas within our program. So the next slide, please. Thank you. Ms. Faria, could you please speak about the placement for the Portsmouth High School classes?
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
So as I stated earlier, teachers make recommendations for courses they believe level courses they believe students should enter next year as freshmen. So once those recommendations are made mid-year, they're usually right after the second quarter report cards come out. Students then look at the recommendations with their parents and they decide if they're going to agree with the recommendations or maybe take something else. The recommendations that teachers make are based on the following criteria. They're based on their 8th grade quarter 1 and quarter 2 combined average, their STAR test data, other possible data such as RICAS, and a readiness ranking regarding independence level, study skills level, general work ethic, and there might be something hidden behind my people here. So let me see. No, that's it. So once this process gets started, it can be a little overwhelming. So if anyone would like to have an appointment with me, I'd be happy to sit down with you and work through it and make sure that your child is registered for the appropriate classes in high school. There's also one other thing I wanted to touch base on is if your child is currently in Algebra 1, upon the successful completion of Algebra 1 in 8th grade, they will be recommended for either geometry or geometry honors. If your child is in Math 8, upon the successful completion of Math 8, they will be recommended for Algebra 1. Also, I know this is not only about math, I'd like to go back to the foreign language for a minute. If a student is successful in passing Spanish or Portuguese 1 at the middle school, they will go on to Portuguese 2 or Spanish 2 at the high school. They will not be able to go back and retake Spanish 1. If they're interested in taking a level 1 class as a freshman, they would have to switch their language to either Portuguese 1 or French 1. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear for everyone before we head into this recommendations time period, which is just right around the corner.
Thank you, Ms. Faria, and all of the grade 8 teachers. We have one extra slide from the life skills classroom with Mrs. McGinnis, please.
Good evening. I'm Mrs. McGinnis. I'm the life skills teacher for 5th to 8th grade. Our curriculum is basically based on the alternate assessment dynamic learning map. And we cover everything in reading skills, writing skills, math skills, self-determination skills, social emotional regulation skills. Our expectations are to come in with a good attitude, respect others, and try to do your best. Thank you, Mr. Ruda.
You're very welcome. And in closing, I would like to thank once again Mr. Steve Costa and Mr. Jacob Karen, our tech experts, by helping us every single night for the past couple of nights with open houses. And I would like to thank you for being a part of our virtual open house. As a school community, we pride ourselves in providing the best service possible to you as parents. And that starts with me and my open door policy. So please seek that opportunity to have a conversation about your child. I'll be more than happy to reserve a time in order that we can discuss his or her education. Thank you again for being here tonight. Have a good evening.
Too.